Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. Is Liverpool's season over? Unbelievable loss again for Liverpool at Wolves 3-0. What a result for Wolves, by the way. Fantastic for them in their relegation battles. But Liverpool, I've always said I suspect and expect Liverpool to finish in the top four. And I've got bets with people. Ben Foster's going to do all right out of this. Look, I won't concede that it's impossible. And I'm not going to concede a bet until, the end of May. But looking at it now, I mean, Liverpool are in 10th place. They've got, 29 points. Man United are on 42. Newcastle are on 42 as well, winning already against West Ham as it stands. So, that's a 13-point gap. And all right, they've got a game in hand. But, all right, it's a 10-point gap if you win your game in hand. But you wouldn't bet on Liverpool winning a game in hand. Where are these wins going to come from? Because they're losing to teams that, realistically, you're never going to make up a 10-point gap if you can't go and beat Wolves. If you can't go and beat Brighton. With all due respect to Wolves and Brighton, they're good sides, and they can be good sides, but that's the nature of the Premier League. Where are you going to make up a 10-point gap? And Man United aren't going to stop winning, and Newcastle aren't going to stop winning. So I think Liverpool are beyond crisis. They're almost at the point where, Man United have been in this position, Arsenal have been in this position where you're just going to have to just try and get yourself through to May, take what you can, and really restructure and rebuild in the summer. Now, I don't think that needs to be Jurgen Klopp going, but there is something dramatically wrong at Liverpool. I sit here as a United fan, rejoicing and revelling in Liverpool's failures, just like Liverpool have done for United over the last 10 years. But then it kicks in and you go, all right, this is great, but it doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense to me. I cannot, for the life of me, believe that Mane leaving Liverpool is why they are this bad. That's just a nonsense. It's basic. It's football for dummies. Oh, Mane's gone, so we're rubbish. What a load of rubbish. What a load of nonsense. One player does not make a team like that tick. There is something fundamentally wrong, and it's very, very clear where it is. The intensity, the press, the possession, it's all fell off. Their midfield is lost control. Their ability to suffocate teams in their own half and deal with long balls when they hit it and still control the game, it's gone. It's fell off. Absolutely fell off a cliff. And everybody knows that. But there's falling off a cliff, and then there is actually, being able to climb back up. And Liverpool just do not seem... There is a drop-off, and and there is a fall-off, and they fell off. They've not dropped off. They should still, with the players they've got, be able to... Mo Salah's still world-class. They've still got world-class players. They've still brought in good players. I think Nunez is a good player. I think Gakpo will be a good player. And people will start calling them flops. But Mo Salah's crap as well. They're all playing crap. It's hard on their new players because even their experienced players are playing crap. So it's almost like... It's like, I remember a few years ago, Spurs had a chance at top four and then they all got food poisoning and they ended up losing. And it's like Liverpool, it's like they've all been infected with something. And obviously it's morale, confidence, whatever, belief. The league is very competitive as well. Everybody fancies their chances. But I just don't see where this turns around for Liverpool. To me, they feel like they are what they are. It's not a blip. It's not something that's certainly going to click. And in my mind, I always think Liverpool and Man City are the only two teams in the league that are capable of just going and winning 10 games in a row. But this Liverpool team looks very far from that at the moment. They don't look like they can do that. They've got nothing that's going to come back that make them do that. They've got these massive games coming up against Real Madrid, and if they get knocked out, the season's over. So, that's what I mean. Is Liverpool's season over? Because the top four race is over. I will still put them in top four because I predicted that, and I've got to stand on it. But realistically, the chances of them getting top four are probably less than 15%, probably lower than that. I don't see it happening. I don't see them getting past Real Madrid either. I think Real Madrid will make light work of them. So here we are at the start of February, and realistically, the warning signs have been there in January. Their season's over. What do Liverpool do from here? Well, you get rid of that mentality straight away because even if your season's over, you can still build for the next season. What Liverpool need to do is they need to start building a way of playing that makes them competitive again. They need to build a way of playing that makes them feel confident and happy again. And at the moment, they can't. I mean, look, they had chances. I think they had like 22 shots. Probably only had about 4 on target. They had more possession against Wolves, but they're just dreadful at the moment, and I suspect that, you know, it's gonna be a hard season for them now to try and motivate themselves, but they've just got to take steps, haven't they? I mean, you've almost got to play a mini season. What I would say is that I find it hilarious, especially as somebody who's been through this for a decade with Manchester United since Sir Alex Ferguson left, low after low after low, and unbelievable bad result after unbelievable bad result, terrible football, terrible signings, you know, real lows. And then you see Liverpool lose a few games this season, and you see Liverpool fans coming out, losing their shit like this has been going on for a decade. Lads, ladies, I never thought I'd see Liverpool win the Premier League. I thought you would never win the Premier League. Not in my lifetime. You've done it with Klopp, and you've nearly done it 2 other times under Klopp. Last season, I genuinely thought you might win the quadruple. To be throwing your toys out the pram because you've had a few bad results this year, grow up. You know, literally do grow up. At United, we've had this for years and years and years. Arsenal had it for years and years and years. You had it for years and years and years. You know, this is not a crisis for Liverpool in the sense that you need to start sacking your manager or kicking most of your team out. It is a crisis. You know, I think your season's probably over in many ways, but it doesn't need to be made any bigger. The last thing you want is Jurgen Klopp walking away. The last thing you want is, you know, to try and, you know, rip that team apart. You know, Mo Salah, if you can keep him, is still going to be a top player. There are still some really good players there. I mean, I think the midfield's the problem. And also, I think as well that the way that you play football, I think it's evidential. I don't think it's going to be breaking news to any Liverpool fans. The way that you play football is not sustainable. When Liverpool are at it, they're unbelievable. But you cannot play like that season after season after season. I think it's almost, and I don't follow Liverpool enough, but it's almost like the way they play, it's almost advisable that you almost have a year where you drop off. And I think we've seen it happen before. I think in the COVID year, we remember when there was no fans and you kept losing at Anfield. And you had a few injuries as well. You had a bad year that year, and it didn't look like you were going to get top 4. And then you finished the season strongly and did. And then you've had 2 seasons good after that, and then you've had this one. I think it's almost with Liverpool. You have 2 good seasons, then you have to have a year where you don't. Because I think if you played like you do last year, every year, players would be dropping like flies because of the intensity and the demands. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm not a Liverpool fan. I'm not accustomed to how Liverpool work, but it almost feels like Klopp and his players know that this year they're not going to be running and as intense as they were last year because they can't. They've got to have a year where they sort of recharge their batteries a little bit. I don't know whether that sounds crazy or true, but it almost is like, you know, I mean, you hear these ridiculous stories about players having asthma and stuff like that, don't you? And, you know, they must have left their inhalers at home. And I know that's all conspiracy theories and it's a joke, but in a sense, there's a story there, isn't there? It is, and it's not about that, but it's about, you know, you have a year where you just absolutely blitz it, but you can't do it every year because players just won't be able to do that. So you almost have to have a little bit of a drop off. And also, some of these players are getting older. Some of these players maybe aren't as hungry as they were. And last season for Liverpool was a very disappointing season. I know they won the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, but they really probably should have won the league, and they lost the Champions League final. So mentally, it's a struggle. The World Cup as well, a lot of them went to the World Cup. So you can see why Liverpool have had this cocktail of, you know, this perfect storm of bad results and bad momentum, because there's a lot of things that might have psychologically damaged them from last season. There's a lot of fatigue from last season. This season's been very demanding. They started it badly, and, you know, the confidence has dropped. They're just in a rut, and they almost need a month off, don't they? You know, to recharge the batteries, but you're not going to get that. So therefore, I think that the season may be over. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Get your comments in below, smash a like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you. Oh, we've got a watch along tomorrow, Man City against Spurs, but I'm on Talk Sport at 7:30 on the YouTube as well if you want to call in and have your say. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.